This entry is dated the 15th of February 2018. So, and it is going to be the review of my hopes, fears, and expectations from the one that I did in November. Well, I have my sheet here that I wrote when I did my hopes, fears, and expectations, and just looking at some of them, like were pretty accurate, and then others were just like completely off base. For example, in my hopes, I have people I'm working with understand me, and like yeah, pretty much everyone I was working with understood me. Like all my colleagues, like some of them didn't understand what I was saying all of the time, but a lot of that was down to me speaking quite quickly, which is just the way I speak. But so I had to slow down a little when I was doing that. But other than that, pretty much all my colleagues understood what I was saying. Uh, After that, another one of my hopes was being able to use my competencies well. And I think I did nothing short of exactly that, because I had to use all five in each and every class that I taught, purely because of the scenario. Like if I was teaching in Ireland, I think I could have gotten away with not using teamwork, and communication would have been as a big one. But but being where I was, I had to use all five to be able to successfully teach a class. And another hope was my prior working experience, like helping me out, and it 100% did. Whether it be what just the work I've done last year, my work placement, working with kids in the GAA, or whether it be the part-time job I've had where I'm working with kids from 0 to 7, like 5 days a week. Now my fears. One fear I had was the presenting to college students. When we got there, I didn't think we were going to have to do it. We didn't have to do it for 5 weeks. No, sorry, 7 weeks. And then on our last meeting with Abla, he tells us that the next week we have to present to the college students about English, teaching through the medium of English, 21st century skills in education, and deep level learning. And he said this to me and even Kieran, so the three of us, we decided who was doing which. I did teaching through the medium of English, but it was nothing short of nerve-wracking. Like, the three of us were sitting outside the lecture hall beforehand, like, shaking, contemplating, could we just run home and repeat next year? But, well, it was terrifying. But when we got in there, it was like, I'm not going to say we were okay, because it was still nerve-wracking, but we each had our group of like 20 students. So we only did it for 20-25 minutes, and doing that upon completing that, felt good, but I'm in no rush to do it again. Another fear, people won't understand me. It, it wasn't really that was, I suppose it was fair to have it as a fear, but it wasn't really needed. Like, some of the kids didn't understand me, but I was able to get around that well by working with the teachers. I picked up a little bit of Dutch, so I could kind of get my point across, and I was very animated in my movements, so it helped, like, what I was saying come across. And for a lot of it, they didn't really care, they just enjoyed hanging out, which I thought was nice. Next was I won't have a role. That was a fear. Yeah, I was genuinely quite worried about that. That I was just going to be just on a chair sitting in the back of the class. And that was it's not that it was the case. I had to take that sort of role for the first couple of weeks, because the Dutch education system is so different to the Irish one, that if I just went in head first, I would have just completely disrupted everything. I wouldn't have been able to teach properly. The kids wouldn't have listened to me, because the way they go about teaching is different as well. So, but after my observing time, I was flat out working, whether it be working in Stendon, whether it was working in the gifted school, taking lessons there, or whether it was in Verdum. Like I had multiple lessons and for the entire class every day, and then having no idea what I was actually doing the next fair. Um, yeah, it was kind of the fear of the unknown. I was kind of worried about that, but I think I think I adapted well to everything that I had to do. Like there was no stage I was like, oh my god, I don't know what I'm doing. Then my expectations. I'll have to explain the course. They didn't understand what, no matter how many times I explained it. They're like, oh, so you're here to teach, and I was like, no, no, I studied education, the philosophy and psychology behind education, and they were like, but why are you here? And I was like, uh, well, not just to observe, but to be hands on, and like the principal and the teachers in my schools were just like, okay, cool, you're going to do some lessons, and I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's do it, and yeah, just went in after a couple of weeks and did that, which was very, very enjoyable. I really liked it. My next expectation was that anything I have planned would probably be thrown out the window. It was. Like, it would, everything that I had prepared it, it just wouldn't have been applicable to the situations I was in. Like, being in a gifted school, the stuff I had prepared was like learning to count in English and stuff like that. The kids would have been incredibly bored and disinterested. And these children, if you were patronising to them at all, they just switch off and they do their own thing. They would be in no mood for it. So yeah, and then last expectation would be the difference in culture, and yeah, there was. Um, yeah, Dutch people are a lot more blunt and direct. Like, best example I have is when you go to someone's house and they're like, would you like a cup of tea? And you'd be like, no, no, I'm grand, it's fine. They'd be like, go on. You do that in Holland? Do you want a cup of tea? No. Okay. That's just the way it was. It's just stuff like that. And yeah, like I got used to it by the end, and Abla found it quite funny because at one stage I was pretty heavy in work, and he asked, oh, will we have a discussion? I had to say, like, no, I can't. I have to get this work done for my classes. So I was like, oh, pretty blunt there, Dara. I was like, um, my Dutch mentality is taking over, and he appreciated that. So yes, that was my hopes, fears, and expectations.